Good morning, church. My name is Kathryn and I will be bringing the devotional today, which I hope will be an encouragement to you all. I've decided to look at a passage in Acts 27, and before we read from that, I just want to set the scene. So this is where Paul has been taken captive by the Jewish authorities and he's being transported as a prisoner from Caesarea to Rome. And the ship has got as far as Crete, and we pick up the story in verse 13. When a gentle wind began to blow, the sailors thought they had obtained what they wanted, so they weighed anchor and sailed along the shore of Crete. Before very long, a wind of hurricane force, called the northeaster, swept down from the island. The ship was caught by the storm and could not head into the wind, so we gave way to it and were driven along. We took such a violent battering from the storm that the next day they began to throw the cargo overboard. On the third day they threw the ship's tackle overboard with their own hands. When neither sun nor stars appeared for many days and the storm continued raging, we finally gave up all hope of being saved. Now, when the sailors started on their journey, they had reasonable wind and weather, otherwise they wouldn't have gone. And they didn't expect such a violent storm. And they certainly didn't expect that a few days later they'd be wondering whether they would even survive and make it to shore. To me, this is a picture of how we can sometimes be. We plan and prepare very carefully, and that in itself is not a wrong thing, but then we can be tossed about like a ship in a storm when things don't go the way we expect or everything falls apart. We all know that even the best laid plans sometimes go awry, and no one back at the start of this year would have expected us to be all sitting in lockdown in the middle of May. It does bring home an uncomfortable truth that our perceived control is somewhat of an illusion. However, it is equally true that if we choose to believe in God, then we can be safe and secure in his hands. God was still in control of that ship, and he told Paul to say to the sailors in verse 22, "I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost, only the ship will be destroyed." And by God's grace, that's exactly what happened, and the crew and the prisoners were all saved. Our initial reaction to when our plans are disrupted is often one of anger and frustration, which is understandable. But often God uses this as a time to get our attention and remind us that we are dependent on his love and his grace. If we want to navigate successfully through the different changing circumstances of our life, then the key is to turn back to God's word and his promises. Clearly, this lockdown has brought us a time of pause and reflection, not just on our normal lifestyle, but also on our time and relationship with God. Maybe it's an opportunity for us to look at our personal time that we spend with God and make changes that develop good habits for the future. Maybe it's a time to seek God's wisdom over what he wants us to do and what we feel is our purpose and calling for the future. The ship in the passage ended up in Malta, and here Paul was able to minister to the people that were there. Now, that wasn't on Paul's agenda, that wasn't part of the ship's schedule, but God clearly had other ideas, and that is often the case with us. None of us know what the future holds, and there's always an element of fear with this. But I know that if we trust God, he will hold our hand as we journey through this. One of my favourite verses is in Proverbs 3, verse 5 to 6, which says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight." My prayer for you today is that you will experience God's calm in the storm and a certain knowledge that God will make a way for you if you choose to trust him. Have a great day.